to stop this. Well, good evening, everyone. Happy Sabbath. It is our privilege to be with you all once again to present another discussion. And tonight, it's it's gonna be fire. It's gonna fire night. So I'm very excited, and I want to welcome our panelists for tonight. And again, my name is Lexius Brenny, as you can see up here, and we have with us Eric, Leslie, Morris, Pastor Morris, with us tonight. So we are very excited, and we have a very interesting topic to debunk tonight. So I'm very excited to be part of this great conversation with these great guys who's going to, by God's grace, we're going to debunk this thing. Hopefully, somebody will be benefited from your conversation tonight. So, guys, how you guys doing? Start, Morris. How you doing?
Doing pretty good.
I'm doing well. Having me
All right,
here today
all
tonight.
right, all right. We made it to another week, right?
Safely through another week.
Yes, safely, safely, safely. So it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to be on the Sabbath to you know be able to enjoy the Sabbath of the Lord and be with our families and friends and worship with our community. And as we are sharing the Sabbath, we would like to do so with a conversation with the title "Does School Violence Begin at Home?" I know I know there's a lot here to debunk. So before we get into that, we're going to pray and we're gonna have a prayer with Chaplain Maurice.
Heavenly Father, we say thank you for as we continue to give us your Holy Spirit. We pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Amen.
It looks like I don't know, there's cutoff. There's a cutoff on your Morris on your side. And okay, as you working on it. So the topic for tonight, Leslie, and Eric, does the school violence start at home? What do you quasi didn't laugh me Sunday? What do you because this is what do you guys say? What do you say? What do you say? Man,
Leslie,
um
you take off first, Leslie?
Yeah, I think to a certain extent, it does start at home. Um, are we talking about just school violence or gun violence?
school violence.
Yeah, I mean, I
Like
think to,
all of them are guns or bullying,
I think to a certain extent, it starts at home. I think um, the decay of meritocracy
hmm
has a hand to play in that because as our societies are evolving and getting more and more into the other side of things, we're seeing
hmm
these things more and more.
hmm
So there's a balance that's no longer there.
yeah.
So as meritocracy is eroding, the expectation of just having things being given instead of being earned is
hmm
happening too. Not trying to make an excuse for the obvious, you know, you know, problems at home because a lot of times violent people are usually comes from violent homes.
hmm hmm
But there's also a case being made that a lot of people become violent when their expectation of what the world should be
hmm
when it's not met in reality. This usually happens too, and also the fact that we have a increased level of mental health never to be seen before.
hmm
Whether it is the trend of the times, whether it is a byproduct of our society, that we're calling mental health,
Mhm.
all the trends align to increase violence as a whole.
Mm.
So I think it's a decay in society as a whole. That's why we're seeing those things.
Yeah. Mm. So now I think a lot of things as parents we need to be careful of. We are parents here. Um. So I mean, Eric is coming up. Hopefully, I. Yeah. So yeah, I just speak it into existence. So you already know.
Prophesying.
Yeah, he's coming up. Say, well, I meant to say the majority of us here we are parents. Um, so we have to be careful with a lot of things. Um, children they vulnerable to anything that we expose them to, and there's such thing as children don't create violence. I don't know what you guys think about that. As Leslie was saying, it can start at home if we pay more attention. Let's say it can start at home in a way that domestic violence, and based on my based on experience, once a child is exposed to domestic violence, the child is never the same, and there's a trauma that is set in place, and one of the way, and there's such thing as trauma response. The way the person will respond to trauma, it's almost like when you traumatized by domestic violence, then you become someone like a child. You become someone as a child. The child will be very insecure. Anything that any encounter is can be mistaken as an attack. Any encounter can be mistaken as an attack because because of the traumatic experience that the child has faced. So that being said, I think based on the based on the many different research, it shows that I was looking at the research. It says that the 51% of the difficult of what causes school violence has to do with family, difficult difficult family situations, divorce, single parenting, and absent parent. So I know I just debunk all of this just so as we're looking into this topic, I don't want us to just only get caught up on the domestic violence part of things, like the fighting at home, the siblings rivalry, also divorce, and single parenting and absent parent.
I mean, honestly, you venture into a whole other aspect of society that I
You know,
don't think we're ready to talk about right now. Because when you start talking about, divorce and the things that's happening to the family unit as a whole, the family nucleus as a whole, when you start venturing into that, it is subsidized. It is better to actually seek out, because for one, and this is one of the things that it usually perturbed me, is that in the West we believe in the continual pursuit of happiness, which is asinine. It's unrealistic. There's no way you can possibly be happy 100% 24/7. Okay? Yeah, that's a message that we promote every single time, all day long. So what you have is a whole bunch of families and a whole bunch of relationship being founded on the superfluous ideology that you are gonna be happy 24/7. That's not gonna happen. That's the first thing, right? So then now the whole basis for a relationship, instead of loyalty, instead of companionship, instead of all those things that are wholesome, the whole basis of a relationship is literally based on passion.
Mm,
Now, passion is gonna run out at one point, okay? is going to run out at one point. So now, because the person never really think about, you know, the loyalty aspect of relationship, and because it's based on only passion, once the passion is no longer there, and the person needs to find themselves, people start leaving the home. And when they start leaving the home, who end up suffering the most? The children end up suffering the most because they're the one that's most vulnerable. So we have a society that is so, and guys, let's tie that back into the Bible. It says in the end of days, men will be lovers of themselves more than they love God. Then when people start loving themselves so much, and the only thing they can see is how I can get happy, then the kids are an afterthought. The kids are no longer the focus of the relationship because people are still trying to capture their youth, and they're still trying to capture the old days, and they want to have happiness all the time, which is why we succumb to drugs and all these other things, right? So again, I think it has to do with a decay in society, in that we don't value the family nucleus anymore. We don't value the things that makes us wholesome, and the children end up paying for it because you cannot avoid the harsh realm of reality regardless of what you do. Reality is the great equalizer.
Well, there's so
think
much
the
contributors, man. So much contributors, Eric, and so many things involved in the way that the children are being victimized, and as it as the way they respond to what they are being exposed to, and the end result and the production of that is not the best thing to society, and and I have so much more to say about that, man. Eric, I'm gonna let you jump in on this thing, man.
no, I think you guys touched on a lot of things already. That's very key components to a kid's upbringing or that could shape a kid's life. And then some of the things I noticed, we talk about the family structures and all that, and I guess parents in general being very involved in the kid's life and taking an important role in nurturing and raising the kid into the person I guess that will fit into society. But what happened is that society in itself is not structured in a way it's a good citizen anymore. That I feel like current society is not structured in a way where that the family can support a children to raise a kid in the right way where they'll produce a person that will be go back to the real world and become productive because the reason why, like for example, like most of our parents, right? Our parents, people that are around our parents' age in America or they were being raised up. The, most likely it was only that went out to work, and then the mom stayed home with the kids and being very involved in the kids' life and helping raise those child. Whole industrial revolution component, and then now in the feminist movement and everybody going back into the work field. Now you break up the family where now both people is competing now to go make a living to support the daily life. You have most of the time of the day they finish at a job and they come back home tired. They don't have enough time now to get into kid's life and get involved with that kid. And then what you have is that now you have the society around being the key component into raising that kid. So if you have television and then you have let's say a lot of time with our people, being a lot of African American, I would say, right, raised in the hood. You have that environment, right, being the component key to raising that kid. Most likely, you're gonna produce, gonna go back to school and feeling a void, and then that turn into you get a reaction. It might not be the reaction. Not everyone is able all this type of pressure and go back to the real world and be productive. I know I touched on a lot,
Yeah.
but it's a
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. It's all good. It's so much. It's just a very sensitive topic, man. There's so much that goes into it when it comes to our children. We know the value that is placed upon them, and we know
Mhm.
everything starts with the children, right? And so, man, we. I'm gonna let Moes go on, man, because Eric, you open a vine, and Leslie, you open the wound there, and so I don't know, Moaz, man. What you gonna do? What you gonna do to the
Yeah,
wound that's been open and the vine, the water's flowing out.
yeah. I mean, I'm going to just add what you've been saying. I believe like the person
Can't really hear.
life, it started at a child.
Mhm.
I don't hear me right.
Yeah, I think there's a cutoff. I think it has to do with your maybe connection, but we hear you hear some of the things that you say, but we miss some of the things that you say, some of the important things you're saying. Um, you can try it again. Yeah, there's a lag, and I think it's the internet. So as brother Morris is coming back on, whenever you come back on, Morris, you can interrupt me. So Eric, uh, um, it's important. I think you mentioned something about the parent being absent, and
Mhm.
you just touch on my presentation my presentation about 2 weeks ago, and it's gonna be my presentation again about this
Mhm.
upcoming week, next weekend. So this family
Mhm.
situation, man, is a very dilemma. That's the greatest dilemma we've ever
Mhm.
have to face
Yep.
as parents. Time, and I'm gonna push
Mhm.
this. I'm gonna push. I'm gonna have this presentation until people really get it. I'm gonna present this thing everywhere. So time is a dilemma, and once we have once we have the once we have the once we come to the consensus that we make our children primary. I'm talking about like as a community. Few people do that actually. Make our
Mhm.
children primary and let's family be the motivator, family be the front line of some of the decisions that we make, whether it be employment, whether it be residence. So that's gonna change something. And until we do all of that, we all gonna be victim of someone might be trying to do something and somebody else is not trying anything. And when the children they go to school, they merge, they go together. So although you are trying to do something, somebody who's not trying, that kid is become, violent and things, but then your kid become a victim of that. So it's a community situation. It's a community situation. Well, Morris, I think you said that Morris is working on his sound. You said that you are muted. You are not muted at all. Morris, you are not muted. But yeah, so as Morris is working on his sound, and let's
Yeah.
go back to yeah. Go ahead, Eric.
No, I want to touch back more, a little bit more on the family thing again, and because it goes back to the whole talk of nurture as nature component, right? There's a big talk, and everywhere you go, and you go to the university, take philosophy, um, that question you raised up most likely in your philosophy class, and God know the way people react, the way people act, the things people do. What's the motive? What's the influential factor on that? Like sometimes when the extreme case of violence get involved, sometime, which is very
Mhm.
very rarely, it could be mentally ill people that could do something, but that's very small of the chances. But I feel like the majority of the time there is something missing in regards to that child, the way that child was nurtured. There is something that was missing there. There could be a component of, 'cause even with both families, let's say both parents are in the home, both parents could be in the home every day and still not raising that kid. And that kid is still society. So there's a need of really being involved in that child's life and really getting in, knowing, they strong listening what to feed and feed more the soft point. The whatever they weak at, you help them to be strong in that. Whatever they strong at, you help them to get the control of that. A lot of times, some kids could become very at a very young age. You can see a kid sometimes they can get very aggressive. I remember my in middle school, there was some kids in my middle school, man. These kids were very like I could tell those kids had a rough. Now I'm like, I know that they had rough upbringing, always involving some type of physical. And I'm sure if the parents were to be involved in that child and put that in the school, that kid will have a more control of the emotion. I think I'm getting feedback.
Yeah, I think it's on Mora's side. Well, I think I think Eric, again, you said something is very. Mora's on your side. There's a. Is it on speaker?
Yes.
Yeah. The feedback is that we're on speaker. I think.
You might have to put the headphone on.
Yeah, you might. If you put your headphone on, you might fix the problem.
Okay.
Les got them expensive equipment. That's why.
Who? Oh, Moret?
No, Lex, you got them expensive equipment.
No,
we can't keep.
man.
We can't keep up with you, bro.
No, man, it's not me, man. It's on the brother side. It's on the brother side, man. You got me some Equilus. Maybe that's right. You got me some Equilus a few weeks ago. No, man, I had to upgrade from you. It's not me. It's you, Leslie. So I have to So yeah, speaking of children, speaking of community, right? You see, when it affects one, it's gonna affect the rest of the. That's just the way it goes. That's just the way it goes. I don't know if it's my thing is too heavy for my brother, but
your thing is heavy, bro. You got that heavy stuff.
Yeah, I'm trying to let me put it down. So. No, just for real. Yo, man, let's finish the laughter. That's funny. Offline. Well, it's all right. It's all right, y'all. It's even though if you're just coming in there connecting, we are talking about does school violence begin at home. So we're trying to look at how some of the other spaces have influenced the children. So by the time they get to the school, they are so frustrated. As Eric was just mentioned, man, bro, the kids, they really enter the school, enter the four walls like mad, angry, frustrated, right? So and sometimes it might be something that really start at the school. It may be sometimes it's really start there by bullying and all these different things. And although he might be bullying inside of school, I think something from home has something to do with it. Yeah, so I think something at home, there's no way parents gonna get off the hook on this one.
Mm-hmm.
It's Wes, are you back now? Okay.
Yes,
You are, okay, you're good now. Leslie can say nothing. You you are good now. Well, we heard you said something worse. So go ahead. Yeah. Okay. Well, guys, don't wait for you
Yeah,
can
I think family unit, man. I think plays a very big portion in the child development.
Mhm.
I don't think a tough upbringing is what dictates whether or not someone's gonna be prone to violence, but I think the quality of the type of items that the kid is exposed to has a lot to do with the type of output the kids will be putting out. You know what I mean? Because we know a lot of people that may have some tough upbringing. Things were not easy for them, but they are upstanding member of society. But I think it's the quality and the type of things you're exposed to. I think that has a lot to do with the type of people they will become. But violence and literally, like I keep going back to this, it's literally a decay of society because we don't value certain things anymore. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? Like I mean, most kids never really sit down with the parents to have a family meal because both
Mhm.
mom and dad is always on the run and always on the move. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So the cohesion the family needs, they don't even have it anymore.
Mhm.
They don't
Mhm.
have it. So a kid can be living at home with you, but they don't even feel like they belong anywhere because they don't have the cohesion anymore. Because mom don't ever sit down and have a conversation with them and try to understand whatever is going on with them. Another thing too, whatever problem you are facing at whatever level you are in your life, it's a world-ending problem for you at that level. Meaning,
Mhm.
if a kid is facing something that is truly troublesome for them, to
Mhm.
them, it's a world ending type of situation for them. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So then, if you are so caught up in your own adult life and your problems are more, they're bigger. You know what I mean? But if you are so caught up in your adult life that you diminish whatever the problem the kid is facing, to
Mhm.
them, that's a major problem because you're not taking into account some of the things that's going on with them. I mean, all these
Yeah.
things account for, and then there's just a sense of depravity in our society too, man. You know what I mean? I mean, we
Yeah.
are the most depraved society, I believe, to ever live on this planet. Yet we always chastise people with a sense of morality. That don't even make any sense. We are the most depraved society on the planet, but yet we always use morality to chastise people. It don't make
Mhm.
any sense. So you can't even reconcile the two because the two of them don't even belong together. If on one end, if you are in a dog eat dog world, then if this is what the norm is, then that's what it is. But
Yeah.
when you are a dog world, but then the way you divvy up your punishment is from a sense of morality, it doesn't even. So a kid is growing up, they're confused more than anything, and
Mhm.
and the powers that be make sure the confusion is there to stay.
And one thing you mentioned that's really, I think that's very key is not having the family presence, like, because family is supposed to be there to heal, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that you
Support,
face in
support.
this life, bro, is either you get healed at the church, which is a bigger family, or at your family of birth. Sometimes in the both of them they not available for to in a lot of communities, especially in the Haitian community, church can be absent in the life of a young person. And also the family structure that's not in place to ask the child, how was your day today? How was school? what's going on in your life, especially when people becoming like kids, pre-adolescent, they becoming adolescent, bro. They are flooded with all kinds of things of life. It's life is very heavy on their shoulders. Yet there's nobody there to really support them, to really carry them over, get them over the hump as they travel, the uh, trajectory of teenage life. So it's a lot of things, man. It's a lot of things. And politicians, churches, they try to come together, and nobody really is asking the right question. What is it that's causing all these things? We have all these research showing what's causing the violence. 51% is from the house, like the divorce, the absent parents, and the single parenting. Why can't we do something about it as a society?
We're not
So,
going to because we are incentivized not to do anything about it.
but much more the church. I think the church can do a lot about it.
Man,
Like we said in previous sessions,
I mean,
previous.
we need to start preaching um, prosperity gospel. That'll be the
I
first
mean,
thing.
yeah, and I mean not so much. We don't. It's more so we need to be more structured. We need to broaden our structure, not just. We need to be
No,
more.
I think we need to let people know reality and what it is. That your life is not gonna be rosy all day. That when you
Yeah.
make that pact, it is a pact that you made with your partner in front of God, for better or worse. That we gonna have hard, tough days. That people,
Hmm.
because you know what's going on now. The reason why most people don't even stick around is because at the first sign of anything being hard, they're ready to go.
Hmm.
And then
They pop
you
up.
have, yeah, you have the advent of social media where people will have deplorable lives, but somehow are trying to show you that they have a good life, and you believe in that, you buy into that. See, there was a time when we used to live our own lives, but now we're trying to watch other people living their lives, and we're trying to model our lives after that. So you have all these things that's going on that have a major influence on our lives. Because if you ask everybody, if let me tell you something, if someone tells you, "Man, I just want to be happy," to me, that's a red flag. To me,
But I see, me and you, how we grew up, Haiti. We don't have like we talked about this before, in the poor countries, like the third world countries, they don't have the depression and all this anxiety that we have in the Western, and because life is different for them, right? Even though they, even though they may have um even though they even though they know the suffering, they ready for it, they are made for it, they have the gut, but I think something
because
that
because
they
the
don't have.
formulate because our ideology is different.
But
The
no, but
formulation of
something
our mind is different. Our
also,
consistencies is
yeah,
different.
also something they have we don't have, the time. The parents, they have time. When I was growing up, bro, parent time was like, my parents was always there. My mom did everything in the house.
Yeah.
But here, bro, it's a whole different situation. It's although they don't have the money, and that's the reason why they are poor in the first place, because there's no the economy is bad. The parents cannot have jobs. So I'm thinking if they had jobs just like we have in the West, they probably had the same problem. I really do think so, because even though they have it, the best version of it, they complaining. They don't complain. They would switch. They would say, okay, they would switch it for what the Americans have if they could.
I think in other countries where poverty is not like Haiti, they're able to have the depression rate is much lower. Life is much better. I think it has to do with our outlook on life, and that we promote individualism so much so that,
Mhm.
so first of all, the first thing is this, right? We have insert capitalism in every aspect of our lives. That's the first
Yeah.
thing. So everything is transactional.
Mhm.
Literally,
Mm-hmm.
everybody's engagement is based on what they can get from you. That's the first thing. That's one of the major aspect, one of the major tenets on everyone's life. That's one of the reasons why you see a lot of people don't even want to have kids anymore, because they don't even understand the idea of passing on your gene to the next generation. That's not even important to us anymore. We don't even care about that anymore because we're so busy trying to mold a great life and happy life here at this present time, that whatever we think about all the obstacles and everything that may prevent us from having that happy, wholesome life, we put off having kids. A lot of people, they don't even want to have kids anymore, right? So
Yeah.
it's all in the mindset of how we see the world. We don't even see the world as something. Capitalism inserts itself in every aspect of our lives. Everything is transactional. What can I get from this? It's never about, you know what, I'm just gonna do this because you're a human being, and we're just gonna exchange this thing. Everything is, what can I get from this?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So
It's a
when,
choker, man. It's
yeah, so when you in capitalism becomes a major point in of relationships, because you have people who literally will get together because they feel like, okay, man, it's gonna make me look this way, but they never have the solid foundation that I'm just gonna share my life with this person. Tell me this, man, how are you gonna have, and again, it's not a knock from for anybody who do this, but how are you gonna be sharing your body with someone but you cannot share your bank account with that person? I never get that.
I mean, that's a very it's a very deep thing. It's an attack to marriage. It's a blurry understanding of marriage. It's a give up on marriage. It's because marriage is really like it's the becoming one in flesh, right? I mean, they don't really care about stuff like that. And in fact, before they could get even recognize or even accept divorce, they would have to they would have faced the rejection. They would have to face the reality that marriage is as deep as it should be. They reject all of that. So it becomes like, okay, you know, it's become it's not a shame. It's not a shame. It's not a shame to really just you know not share your body with somebody, and because money, like you said, money becomes the more important.
Yeah, we only think about, and then it's like it all depends on what the currency is. Social
Yeah.
currency being one of them. So people try to go for that. So it's all transactional. The substance of a married life, it's no longer present. So all these things are, you pass those things along to your children. You know what I mean?
Eric,
And all.
Eric, Eric, subapo ki é o passe aí, babá.
No, 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 no. I'm here though. No,
Yes,
I'm
my
listening
man.
to everything though, man. I
You
think
speak, man?
I think some of the solution, like I think Brother Leslie, he's saying, like in sport, that's a key because um, America in its sense, it profess to be a Christian nation, right? So
Hmm.
there's a lot of people that attend church, although the numbers have decreased, but then there's a lot of people that attended church from church also, so they leave church. So and in the violence, I think like you said, Ron, I think the church could do a good job at keeping the issue at bay. I think there's a lot of issues that a lot of people go to church learning from their pastor as an example, right? And then some
Hmm.
people hold pastors to a great regard, and wherever that pastor say or teach them is gold, which is important in the sense. So if those things were happening where every denomination in every church settings, teaching parents the importance of how to raise their family structure in context to the current issue that we're currently dealing with right now. I think that they took, a lot of times you go to church, they do family days, they do family talk and stuff like that. It's mostly or 2 or 3 family people that are married will sit down and they'll tell you about their experience. They'll tell you about, it's important for communication. It's
Hmm.
important to listen to one another. It's important to be loving. The routine stuff. But there's
Hmm.
not enough talk about, okay, like how do a family raise a kid in issues that society is dealing with, and for those
Yeah.
parents to grasp those knowledge and taking that knowledge and going back to the house in applying, because that's the reason why I know what they say at church is very important. Because I remember at one point growing up, my dad, when was at one point at Sinai, there was a lot of messages on not allowing kids to have access to television, right? I think I was maybe middle school, and it was being pushed a lot around that time at Sinai, right? Around the SDA church, right? Then I remember him home from some seminar or something like that, an executive decision to take the TV out in the house because somebody told him the danger that TV could do, and he kind of saw the danger. Eventually, things didn't play out. My mom revolted. My mom said no, she wanted her TV home. TV stay, right? But people are being taught at the churches, and indeed taught at places where people attend. This is just a church, right? Because it's not a church, right? If even that could happen, that would bring changes to society, and then that would reduce the violence. Productive citizens that understand, like Leslie was saying, people that know how to deal with hardship when they're dealing with those hardships and not resolve to violence because they cannot cope with the hardship. And one thing I've learned recently with even with school shootings about that, and they show you that a lot of the people that are doing other shootings, a lot of them are actually cowards. I'm sorry to use that word in a sense because what a lot of them do is that they show you that some go out there out of anger, and the first thing they do, they face to have to face consequences. So that have to deal with the consequences.
And which is why I brought the point. Go ahead, finish it.
And I understand that they could that cause that person to actually put a gun on one against themselves. But the presenter, the way one of the things he mentioned was like, well, based on the research they currently have, a lot of those guys, and also mass shooting though, I'm specifically talking about mass shooting, not just people that are doing violence, but most of the mass shooters, a lot of them are they cowards because once you see a lot of them, they just kill themselves. Of course, there are other ones that are have the mental issues, other upbringing issues, but for the most part, there's something there that's missing. They don't know how to deal with disappointment or with hardship.
Yeah, because a lot of them, man, we are, and again, I know we are in the era where we promote being emotional, but being emotional is literally a kid picking up a gun and go kill a whole bunch of people. That's being emotional, because a lot of times you need to have a better control of your emotions. Yet we don't teach people to regulate their emotions anymore. We tell them to just be emotional. It's not always good to be emotional because all these feelings you have, and I know that's something that's promoted. All these feelings you have, you need to be able to regulate them because those things can make or break you. If you don't know how to regulate your feelings when you're facing some situation and know how to regulate your feelings, if you always give in to your emotion at any given time, whenever those things come up, you are prone to do those things. So,
but guys, I would like to push the. I know Eric said something that's very important. I would like to push the conversation in a different direction where, not really in a different direction, but oftentimes the gun violence situation, it always goes back to the politicians not doing anything, right? I don't think this is really the solution will ever come from the politician, from the government.
Nah,
it will come from the church. Like we were saying, institutions like for change, institutions that really look into the livelihood of the person, like not just the interest that you have at the person, because the government, that's what they have. They see you as an asset. You need to have an institution that's really looking at the person because I'm interested, not because of what you have, not because you can sing, not because you can this, not because you have a good future, not because you are bright, but because you are a human being. And I think only institution is the church as a whole, and I'm talking about not just the Adventist church, the Catholic, you name it, the whole evangelical system. So I think we need to stop saying gun laws. We need to just know that the gun laws is not going away. It's not going away. We need to do something all around.
even
It's just not
even
gonna work.
even if it goes away, a country that has so much guns, you think you're gonna take all of them out? Well,
I
this
think
come on, man. There's so many of them all over the place. There's no way you can take these
Guns will not
things
go
out.
away.
it's out of control.
And
I mean, we
and
sell.
to me,
Don't we?
but
Don't
guys,
we sell?
guys,
Don't we sell
but
them? We be selling
but
them all the
but
time. Isn't
guys,
that what we do?
no, we have to come to the issue though. We have to address the issue as we know that the problem is like the kids don't, like you say, unless they cannot control their emotion, right? And then those act of violences, right? So in a sense, I understand the whole gun thing, but I would never put the blame where the gun become the main issue, right? I think the most important issue it goes back to the family raising that kid, you know what I'm saying, in a proper way to be able to cope with society and the environment they say, because going after the guns, if we trying to fight as a church to control guns and control legislation, that's another that would be another beast in itself. You know what I'm saying? I feel like as a church or as Christians, right? I feel like the most important thing we could control and have influence is how we are sharing information on a platform in our churches that we do have influence over. You know, Leslie, Lex, me, we've been leaders before in church groups, and be that in churches where we had influence to be able to bring, have programs and have talks and trying to become an influence on the mind of the people. And I think that's what will get most changes. You know what I'm saying? Because like you said, there's gonna be a black market.
I think Eric brought a very good point, man. That we are great assets, like young people like us. We are great assets
Mm-hmm.
to the communities, to the church, and we can serve them. Like having a discussion that we're having right now is relevant,
Mm-hmm.
and instead of making the wrong decision, going back to the family. And I always think, man, sometimes some of the prayers that we asking people asking, church to pray for them on a bad decision that they're making. They keep making the same bad decision. They keep asking for prayers, man. It's like going around a circle. And sometimes, man, I question what I pray
Yeah.
for. I'm gonna question you. What's going on? We just ask me to pray. What's really going on?
Why?
So I'm not trying to get into your
Mm-hmm.
business, like that. But I don't want to just be praying for something God is gonna rebuke me too. So I think we really need to like you can use us, like do something that's relevant. Have conversations like that. I know, man, I'm telling you to also we should not wait. That's why I'm trying to get this movement, man. We should not wait for we are world changes. We don't have to wait for they may never call us. They may never get us just let's do something. Let's get to the churches. Because a lot of them, they don't, there's no, a lot of churches, they don't have any programs. They don't have no vision. If you come in, they just, man, it's almost like, man, I was praying for this. I was praying for you to come, but they don't know how to go out and get you. So that's why we need to start, do something, place yourself in a position, because nobody's going to come after you. You need to push yourself there. Yeah. It's something to really think about. It's something to think about because, man, we sitting here, talking about this. I've been to so many missionaries, to prisons, man. It's devastating, man.
Yeah.
I will never forget this, man. In Oakland, California, I was in
To
this place.
Oakland.
Yeah, Oakland, bro. Not not far.
Oakland is tough.
Yeah.
Oakland is
That's
So,
tough.
tough, man. That's
so
man.
we went to a juvenile detention center, man. These kids, they cried tears, man. When we are a whole bunch of young people talking to them, they asking questions how we can get our life back together. Some of them, they just immigrant, children. They don't know how they got to this. They just influence, man. They just you can see that's that the crime that they committed has does not match. It does the crime that they commit does not match their personality, basically. So So you have a whole bunch of kids who are being victims of victimizing people, if that makes sense. They are victim themselves. So they are victimizers that become victims, if that makes sense.
Man,
So man, this you go ahead. I was
no,
gonna
I
say
think
there's
it's a
so much work to
good
do.
point.
We need
I
to
think
go
I
ahead, Eric.
think I think what happened a lot of time, man, when those voids are created in our society, in our neighborhoods, in our communities, man. I mean, there are people out there that use those voids and those trauma that those kids have in their life, man, and use those as a weapon for themselves, for
And
benefit themselves.
these things are
And
created, man.
that's the most dangerous part. You look at the thing, like, like the issue of the war on drugs, or even like, the the fact they read, like, like trade trade jobs or training that kids used to receive in high school, like in the early, like, 70s, 50s, 60s, man. Like, a kid will graduate high school with a trade. You know what I'm saying? In their hand, they could go to society and become a productive person in society. And now, man, yeah, man, school system, and they're not being educated, they're not being taught the right things, and there's people that are using, like, let's say, the kid's an immigrant, they using that, the kid ignorance to whatever the most influential guy in the neighborhood, you will come to that kid and try to, like, join a gang or join some type of clique, and make the kid feel like this person is the enemy, and then they trauma experiences to capitalize on crimes and others and other nonsense. And that's why, like, it goes back again, to us, man, as a church, man. If we are a church in those communities, man, we gotta have a say so in what goes on in this community. If we are in the community, it's important for us in the church, in the community, man. In our community, man, we should be the first one to know what went down, could possibly be, and how do we solve that solution.
But we get it mixed up. We say we in this world. We're not of this world. That's a misunderstanding.
Yeah,
We are we're not of this world. We're just in isolation and waiting for the Jesus to elevate us to extend himself in the air and say, "Come join us." So we are.
man.
I made it. The mandate that is before us, man. That is before us is very great than our understanding. We don't have the understand. We don't have the proper understanding. I'm telling you right now, and I'm not trying to be ignorant. We don't have the proper understanding of how to go about and make a change, make a difference in the life of the individual. I'm telling you guys, this thing got to start with you guys. You guys trust.
I mean, personally, the way I feel about certain things is, especially about Seventh Adventism, I feel like, and I've already said that before. I feel like there should be more of a structure, and that's going back into what Eric was talking about, to make sure we have a community governance, because we don't have that. I feel like because we know these things that are supposed to happen, we should literally, instead of putting money in bank, we should be investing those money in lands and literally start preparing our kids. We should be creating our own communities and our own economies. Personally, that's how I feel like. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
so
At a time,
that's exactly what I was trying to allude to when I said we need to expand
yeah.
our.
Personally, that's how I feel like. Instead of like having all these millions of dollars in a bank, we should be creating communities, and we should be creating our own economy. So if we really gonna be in this world but out of this world, I think that's the best way to do that, because if anything, that would be the only way having an organized church works towards the goal of going to heaven, to me, because we would literally be taking to make sure when things hit the fan, because those last 2 years have proven that we have not made any plans at all. So for those last 2 years just proved that. Not only we didn't make any plans, we'll be the first one to bend down, because we're the only one. I'm just saying those last 2 years just proved, like, from the 70th, and for all of us who will literally back up the 70th Adventist Church and who believe them to have the truth. They just proved to us that if we were to face real persecution, our top leaders would just give in.
Yeah, that was a
We,
real test,
they,
man.
that was a
That was a
test,
real.
and we failed miserably. And I know most people are not having that conversation, and we literally need to have that conversation. Like the power that we need to understand. Hey, we seen what y'all did, and y'all did not act based on the precepts and the commandments that we believe in. Y'all didn't do that.
Mm.
Whether you believe this to be whatever it is or not, because we have precepts that we're supposed to follow. We know that there's a major things that should be happening in the world, and we need to get ready for it, and we were not ready at all,
Mm.
right? So personally, I believe that instead of storing all that money in the bank and doing all these things, we need to create communities where people can literally be free and like spend Saturday, like creating our own economies. That's what we should be doing.
Yeah, man,
Yeah, that's
well,
a
let's.
that's gonna that's a big one, man, to finish, man.
Yeah,
That's a big.
it's not impossible. I think it's gonna take a new generation, uh, to really, you know, to
Yeah,
foster, and it's gonna take a new generation, man. Um,
Shit. And then
trust
they
me.
just create the one religion church. Man, then we give our own money. Then we fund that too. Don't we have our representative over there representing us in the one religion church? We're very much in
yeah,
the world, brothers. Hey, hey, we very much in this world right now.
So yeah,
Very, very much.
guys,
So.
time is. I'm gonna give you guys the time. What would you say, guys, to somebody who's listening, a parent or
man.
a child, or somebody who's listening
I
who's,
try.
you know, been
I,
thinking
I,
about this, the violence in the school and home, domestic violence, and video games, and not having enough time to spend with the children. What would you say, Eric? Start with you. What would you say?
man, I,
What would
man, I think I would start. I would start first to address the parents. That's the most important thing. If you still in a in the nuclear family structure where both mom and dad are involved in the kid's life, I feel like as parents, it is time for sacrifices. I think in our society currently, the way our societies work, I think two parents working part time, or one parent working full time, the other one part time, or one parent or one of the parents working full time to have more time spent at the house with the kids. I think that is very important for the parents. The first thing I will bid is to you have a duty, a godly responsibility to raise a child in the fear and admiration of the Lord. Because if you are neglecting that and you worry about money and in the riches of the world or keeping up with the Jones, and your kid is perished, when God comes, He's going to ask you, like the sheep I gave you to be a shepherd over. What happened to it? Why is it wandering away? And you have a biblical responsibility to give an answer to God, or why you
Yeah,
not follow the counsel that He's giving you.
yeah,
That's for the
yeah.
parents. For the child,
Mhm.
I'm not sure what age you are. If you are at the age of accountability, where you have conscience, where you understand right from wrong, the moment you start getting the understanding of right from wrong, all your parents might not make some bad decisions for yourself. If you are being in a society, there's ways that you know from people your that are in your life, whether from school or your neighborhoods or your church, they are telling you stuff. You need to listen to the adults, listen to your parents. Um, one mistake you could make in your life could change your life completely. Where you spend the rest of your life either in prison or you could be killed for not listening. I think for children, the most important thing is listen to your parents. Turn off the TV and social media. Spend more time reading your word, reading the Bible, and or educating, and then do not allow peer pressure to force you to do things that you would not you would regret. That's my
Right,
two
right.
counsel to close out.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So
That's
also, Eric, I don't know. Do not be afraid to tell the people, man. to advise the people. Uh, I mean, we should not be afraid. Not you.
Hmm.
Um, if they cannot make it without one income, because it's hard in Florida, hard in New York,
You move.
hard.
You gotta move.
Exactly, man. We advise you, man. We this thing is
Move.
you got to do
You,
what you
you
got
know.
to do. Just
You
move to a
know.
place where it's better.
Because I have
You
an
know,
example
make
right now, man.
not
I have a
move to
cousin.
Florida.
I have a cousin of mine, man, and the kid, man, he got involved into some, he's a good kid. I spoke to him. Environment, man, is not good. You know,
Yeah,
and the mom do the best she can, but I feel like the mom should take more responsibility because when I tell her to move, I want her to just move. She just give you all type of excuses why she can't move. And I'm like, if you had moved, like, you could a lot of danger, just by moving.
yeah.
Sometimes
They don't.
it's
Yeah,
good to move. Go to a smaller town where things cheaper, where one income is not too overbearing to handle the bills. The most important thing is how you raise your family. It's the most important thing. Your family.
yeah,
Family is
man.
important.
Yeah, we need to push that thing, man. Well, Eric and Leslie, what's your advice, man? What's your last word of advice?
It'll be along the same line of what Eric just talked about. But one of the things that I really think that needs to be pushed a lot is, even though it's decaying a lot, is the idea of meritocracy versus just, kids just getting things just because. Because I think there's a lot of that's going on. So when kids just getting things, they don't have a real understanding of the world because the parents actually create that. So if you have a parent that's already absent, and then you have a kid that's growing up believing that everything they want, they can actually get it, they have a very skewed look into the world. They don't have a full picture of what the world should be about. And I think that
Mm-hmm.
that creates a lot of pent up anger because when you face the real world, when your parents is not covering for you, you cannot reconcile what you believe you should be getting
Mm-hmm.
versus what people are telling you. And you see that a lot because parents are literally covering for all the time. The kids don't even understand how the real world operates. I think that's one thing that parents need to be on the lookout for. In addition to making sure that you are present for your kid, man. Because if you're not, that's why I mean a lot of times, man. If I get that appointment, I try to go take them myself. Like I'll believe in the middle of the day, just go take them myself. Like you know,
Mm-hmm.
like I try. Like if they have something going on in school, I try to be there. You know, like those sacrifices are important for parents to start making. It's okay for you to have a career, but I'm gonna tell you something, man. When you're 70, 80 years old, and when you're looking back, you know, it's not gonna be the same. Not, it's gonna be much better that you know that you sacrificed your life for your kids. Because if you if you sacrifice yourself for your whole career, just because you can purchase a extra little car or whatever, it's not gonna add any more value to a life as opposed to your legacy that you carry through your children. That speaks more
Mm-hmm.
volume than your ability to actually be able to purchase, cars and stuff. So
Yeah,
yeah,
man. It's just so much. You guys just open some door now, man. You guys open the door. Open the door, man. I'm not going in. Um, wow. Well, bro, it's easier, That's why he goes back to making the right decisions and making the right decision as parents. It does not start. It starts really, with even what you go to school for, what you study. Honestly, man, I'm just gonna put it out. Certain things, bro, you're going for in life is gonna affect your family. You know that, right?
yeah.
Okay,
I
I'm
was
this
thinking about that. You're right. You're right. I
yeah,
was thinking
yeah,
about that when Eric was talking about, sometimes you just need to leave. And I was like, oh man, what he said is so true because, but then again, what is your career choice? Yeah, that's a good point, Lex.
yeah. Man,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to drop it. but because I don't want people to, there's so many, career being, the motivator and the like the engine of this world, man. But I'm looking, man. I'm not afraid, man. I'm gonna say it. Certain things, you're steady, bro. It's indicator your family, how it's gonna affect your family structure. And my wife being a lawyer, right? Everybody always think about, oh, a lawyer, money, 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 money. Me in my house, it's family, family. This is the song that we
That's
sing.
good, man.
So because of that, man, the money comes second. We both working from home. If that she's, we pass a whole lot of jobs just so we can have jobs to be home with our baby. And I'm
Yeah.
telling you, and
Praise God.
Leslie, yeah. So Leslie, also, man, we have a lot of opportunities that a lot of people they don't have, man. Now I schedule my clients; they don't schedule me. I change it. My baby has an appointment. I'm gonna cancel somebody.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people have that opportunity, right?
Yeah.
So
Not a
that's
lot of
why,
people have that.
yeah, man. It's very difficult for some parents to even go to a meeting, like a school meeting, to keep up with with the teachers, emails and things and communicate.
It's tough,
It's
man.
man, yeah, it's really tough. And man, we got to get out there. We got to get out there, man. And because we know the best, we know both worlds. So I think we are very great assets, man. We're gonna have a lot of conversation offline. Let's talk a little bit offline, and let's. Okay, this is gonna be it for tonight. Y'all, thank you so much for your time, for being attentive to our conversation tonight. A special thank you to Eric and Leslie and Moes. I know he was having technical difficulties, but we are very happy that his presence was meant a lot to this conversation. So we're gonna have a closing prayer with Eric, and this is gonna be it for tonight. And I will see you at 5 o'clock tomorrow evening.
All right.
Eric,
Dear most loving Heavenly Father, Lord, thank you once again, Lord, for your Sabbath day, Lord. And we thank you, Lord, for the day you have set up for us, Lord, that we may enter into your rest, Lord. And we thank you, Lord, for the week, Lord. You have allowed us to do your work, your various activities, Lord. And you protected us, Lord. And you sheltered us, and you provided for us. We thank you for that, Lord. As we discuss your word tonight, Lord, we pray that you may have stream, Lord, reach the person that you wanted to reach, Lord, that the heart may turn into you, Lord, and that transformation may happen in this world, and that we may see the fruit of your of the labor that we have put out, Lord. We pray that you may please, Lord, continue to bless the ministry, continue to give us on the panel of members more wisdom, more understanding, Lord, of the people, Lord, what we have learned. We thank you for all that you have done for us, Lord, and we thank you for being good to us, Lord. And we ask you all these things in Jesus Christ's name. Amen.
Amen.